have to tell you, I'm so delighted and overwhelmed in a way to be back here at UT Austin and to have my name connected with David Wevel. I think I was too shy to even enroll in a creative writing class when I was here. So I took all the literature classes and wrote kind of on the side secretly. And it took me a while to actually think of myself as a poet. But thank you all for being here. Thanks to Lisa and Maida and all of the people who made this possible. I'm hoping that I can actually talk because I've been taking a bunch of decongestants just to be able to breathe. So, okay. Now, I'm going to read some more recent work. These are part of a work in progress that's got a working title of Tonka Diary. You all can hear me, I hope, all the way to the back. Need to be louder? Oh, okay, you can hear. Okay, great. All right, so, and so this is my adaptation of the Tonka form, which is the Japanese traditional form of syllabic poetry. And it's 31 syllables. I've kind of adjusted it a little bit. And also, you know, I've noticed that sometimes it's hard for me to know how many syllables a word has because I am a Southerner. And so I find myself sometimes referring to the dictionary to figure out, well, what is the standard pronunciation of this word? Because I sometimes may be adding extra syllables. Okay, so I'm gonna drink some water. And so I hope to read a little bit of Sleeping with the Dictionary, maybe toward the end. Chain link fence, locked gate, protect this urban garden. Fugitive fragrance of honeysuckle escapes to tempt the passing stranger. Bare feet at ocean's edge of dark, wet sand, run toward, then away from frothy waves, as small birds feed on invisible insects. Long ago, meat fell off the bones, animal simmered in broth or stew of primordial ooze, skeleton of woolly mammoth. Purple jacaranda blooms, spectacular on branches overhead, underfoot, a sticky mess where they land on the sidewalk. Paparazzi snap snoozing celebrities in stretch limos, cruising down Hollywood Boulevard past anorexic palm trees. Yes, it is legal to harvest the overhanging fruit of your neighbor's avocado tree. Just don't smuggle it out of state. Even the chilliest winter day at Santa Monica Beach is still warm enough for surfers in wetsuits to ride the waves. Los Angeles isn't always this smoggy, you know. There are days the sky is so clear, you can see the Hollywood sign from here. My visitor from Nebraska buys a sack of assorted seashells at a souvenir shop, then scatters them along the beach. Clinics displaying the 5-leaf marijuana plant, weeds sprouting up more numerous than coffee shops with the mermaid logo. Baby ducklings trailing mother duck can scarcely wet their feet in shallow puddles of this city's concrete rivers and creeks. On the deck of the beach house, we sat at sunset to watch that red disk plop into the ocean like an Alka-Seltzer tablet. Storm clouds, ozone, grumble of thunder, lightning strike, power surge, electrical outage, pitch black, candle flame. Non-native ice plant on postage stamps represents the Golden State, like a governor whose tongue gets tangled in California. If you must keep a dog in the city, you got to go out for walks. If you must stop at my house, please pick up your pooch's poop. Two seagulls face off in the parking lot between Costco and In-N-Out, quarreling over a half-eaten hamburger bun. Blast of hellish breath, infernal scourge, parched wind that whips and scorches, green torches, oily eucalyptus trees bursting into flame. Hiking up Topanga Canyon Trail, we spoke of bobcats, coyotes, and rattlesnakes, but only harmless lizards crossed our path. Honeybees delve in, their tailpipes tipping up into view as their heads disappear into the fluff of cheerfully red pom-poms. Seafood restaurants called Something's Fishy and Killer Shrimp. An actor wearing a frog costume waves a sign for ugly sushi. Along the roadside, someone has spilled pink styrofoam peanuts. They add color to the grassy green, but I still prefer flowers. Why should I care about my neighbor's riotous dandelions? Does he concern himself with my slovenly jacaranda? On Santa Monica's beach, they're worshiping a different saint. Wading in white, the chanters launch small boats with gifts for Yamaya. Networks of tree roots, sinewy tentacles, cracking sidewalks, pushing up bulges in asphalt streets, clogging city sewer lines. Don't need picket fences, brick wall, or razor wire. Our home's protected by prickly pear cactus and thorny bougainvillea. A Venice Beach sculptor caresses wet sand to make a shapely mermaid. He charges each tourist a fee to take her picture. I'm not homeless, I'm a bum. I was living in luxury, making plenty money, but I gave it all up for alcohol. Stone ground flour from co-op bulk bins brings dusty moths that hatch in my kitchen canister and fly out when I want to bake biscuits. On Venice Boulevard, men selling oranges, women selling flowers, vendors wilting in the sun, sweating out pungent juices. I'm scanning the path, wary of poison oak and tangled roots, but also looking to find a simple treasure, a heart-shaped stone. Families avoid the beaches after heavy rains. Swimmers stay away from the waves. Our city gutters drain to the ocean. So light and delicate, skimming tips of maidenhair trees. I thought you were butterflies. Now I see you are the tiniest birds. Several gallons of chemicals from the hotel pool get poured through the wrong grate, sickening a crowd of subway commuters. Hummingbird alters its course, zooming closer to check out the giant hibiscus flower. Only me in my red summer dress. The determination of a turtle clambering out of a pond, up the slippery side of a rock to rest in the sun. 99 dashing dots crisscross the walk, red ants converging on a spot where someone's dropped a greasy bite of pepperoni. Flame tree, I must have missed your season of fire. All I see are your ashy knees, your kindling limbs, branches of extinguished blossoms. Pilots are grounded. Airplanes are afraid to fly. What saboteur hid the fatal trees? What terrorist slept beneath the glacier? A green streak swooshed across the sky with a shower of brilliant blue sparks, a boulder hurled from heaven, breaking apart in Earth's air. We'd planned to hike to the top of the trail for a breathtaking view of Pacific, but turned back down at the sight of a rattler. A cop guards the bridge I cross to catch my bus. He watches as I slow my walk to stare at the president's car passing below. And that was the closest I'll ever get to Barack Obama. Inspired by swarms of oily insects, if you can't beat them, eat them, said the inventive chef who created the locust pizza. The closest we got to nature, red fruit floating above city skyline on label of 2-liter bottle of cherry Coke. Flowers of evergreen tree called bottlebrush, not stiff bristles, but velvety filaments, leave fingers brushed with yellow pollen. As guests are arriving, I see in a corner of the ceiling the spider's tidy web that mocks my attempt at housekeeping. At the Round Top, Texas Poetry Festival, I find that I can live comfortably in a log house that's air-conditioned. Instead of scanning newspaper headlines, I spend the morning reading names of flowers and trees in the botanical garden. Bird of paradise, a potted plant in florist shop windows. Here in my yard, it grows with no help from me and a head taller. In my hotel room in Columbus, Ohio, an arrangement of flowering weeds plucked from the Olentangy River Trail. Shallowest grave for the squirrel, lying still at the foot of a tree, where I gathered leaves to cover that small broken body. From a distance, wrecked cars on the freeway are crumpled toys, the helicopter circling up above, a curious dragonfly. While dreaming my way up the mountain, I sleepwalked into my kitchen, where I slipped on a pebble, or was it a potato? With daily commuters, an extra passenger on the bus, ladybug clinging to the window, didn't need to pay a fare. No, sweet like crude oil and salt water don't mix well at all. What's worse, they make a terrible toxic dressing for oysters and fish. Bees and yellow jackets are more than hard workers. They're also soccer fans, filling the air with the hum of their vuvuzelas. Native or not, you're welcome in our gardens. Lavender's dress is not so vibrant as your green trousers and purple velour sleeves. If I could hold this bowl of blue to cracked lips, if to quench this desert thirst I could swallow the sky, would I choke on carbon clouds? Envisioning a snow-capped mountaintop where glacier had melted, this intrepid painter climbed up to the peak and sprayed it white. Shy extrovert entices and repels with petals and thorns. Modest exhibitionist hides her blush under a pink ruffle. Pedestrians on neighborhood sidewalks swerving slightly to avoid smearing a child's exuberant drawings in colored chalk. I managed to do it only that one time when my grandfather taught me how to bait a fish hook with a squirming wet earthworm. I suppose I'd become a vegetarian if I had to kill my food. It's been ages since I've tried to cook a lobster. It merely looks bedraggled, that gangling garden of rogue roses with stems untrimmed. It doesn't stir the heart like a true wild rose. A corpulent cigar lit up in a blaze of old glory. What patriotic product is the Zeppelin advertising? A valet parks your car at the supermarket. A beach butler reserves your plot of sand with folding chair and bright umbrella. The police and health departments want to find out who's been dumping human waste in the streets of Venice and Santa Monica. Adorned with snakes around his neck like jewelry, he knows that the most venomous reptiles, he knows that the most beautiful reptiles are not always the most venomous. Today we found an ephemeral shrine at the end of a trail, rocks and pebbles some hiker had arranged to make a spiral. The day I notice, returning from my walk, a hole worn through the heel of one sock, my thoughtful sister has sent me a new pair. Water trickles down on clean white flower, star of 5 petals, sheltered under green leaves, held up like cupped hands to catch the raindrops. Today's technology allows scientists to analyze the last meal of a prehistoric insect preserved in amber. Oh no, not whale meat again, the Japanese students murmured, complaining about their lunches in the school cafeteria. The list of recently discovered zoological specimens includes a flat-faced frogfish and a carnivorous sponge. Squirrel, stretching yourself out flat to cool your belly on a shaded rock. On hot days, do you wish your fur coat had a zipper? 14 exotic birds lulled asleep, bagged and taped to the body of the smuggler arrested in the airport customs line. I'm seeing lots of dead zebras lately on floors of elegant homes pictured in interior decorator magazines. We awoke to their racket, tough guys in the alley, fighting over the spoils. Then one raccoon chased the other out to the street. After hearing that poem from my Tonkadari, you handed me a smooth and pleasing stone shaped like a lopsided heart. In the aftermath of the tsunami, rescuers look for survivors, find in the arms of a tree a hungry baby boy. Urban tumbleweed, some people call it. Discarded plastic bag we see in every city, blown down the street with vagrant wind. Go ahead and pat me down with human hands. Don't put me through that machine with remote controls for electronic strip searches. We sit still in the parked car, delighted to see among landscaped flowers a brown hummingbird spangled with iridescent green. Remember that song about possum in the cemetery? That's who's living in your backyard. Opossum in your persimmon tree. Incident at Hollywood and Vine. Los Angeles City firefighters rescue man caught under train, struck by Metro Red Line. We proudly harvest rainwater, a sign in a neighbor's yard. Yes, with a barrel, I could humbly and thankfully harvest rain. I leave traces of ink on paper. Others can't resist spray painting a boulder or carving their names in the skin of a tree. Paramedics check vital signs as emergency room doctors prepare for the arrival of amateur mycologists. Often they are immigrants who've gathered, cooked, and eaten toxic death caps resembling tasty wild mushrooms of their native land. Today, I give thanks for grace and mercy bestowed upon me as I go on living, like a turkey the president pardoned. Waiting in line, staring at the back of a stranger's head, hair spiraling counterclockwise, like hurricanes on a weather map. Before turning to ice, polar explorer wrote his wife about their son, get the boy interested in the natural world. Self-guided missile striking its target in the eye, bee landing in the buttery yellow center of creamy white petals. Rainy, spicy leaves of the California laurel, scented with a hint of cardamom, like chewing gum I used to crave. Volcanic ash clouds give a glimpse of a possible future when no jet planes will fly, except in emergencies such as war. A young man I wouldn't notice if not for words overheard, not even whispered into his phone. 200 for a blowjob. Throughout the year, we exist in dazzling drought. When the rare cloudburst occurs, we complain about getting caught and drenched in the rain. A blizzard begins with a solitary snowflake, drifting down reluctantly, as if afraid to fall alone to earth. Figures inside a snow globe, unperturbed by the blizzard, feet planted firmly, no matter how they're shaken and turned upside down. Hovering half awake, uncertain if those sounds were child or bird, we say that human hatchlings coo, and so do doves and pigeons. Thigh high in water, the woman in Sri Lanka. This whole road's a river, so no wonder a crocodile's on my veranda. I can't help feeling at war with the elements under this fierce onslaught of rain, with just a sad umbrella as sword and shield. Returning home tonight, I avoid crushing a snail that casts a scant shadow on the wide sidewalk in clear light of a full moon. It was no joke, but a question of survival. The jaywalking rooster, a chicken crossing the road in rush hour traffic. This was in my neighborhood in Los Angeles. A shivering dog left out in the rain, dripping wet and cold as a miserable werewolf, each raindrop a silver bullet. Airline passenger detained was no fanatic hiding explosives, but a smuggler with expensive lizards in his pants. I've lost track of the twisted tale, the war criminal, the supermodel, and those dirty little stones, the uncut diamonds. Stockholm guidebooks note, in case you were wondering, that Svart Mangaten wasn't named for a black man, but for a man dressed in black. White chimneys wearing stovepipe hats top rustic red cottages built for broom makers and rock blasters on steep hills of Södermalm. Wandering lost in Stockholm's twilight streets, at last I recognize a helpful sign, tomato, in the toothpaste over Slussen. There I went, leaving only my footprints. Returning, I brought back nothing but the dust that clings to the soul of a wanderer. Stranger here and even more out of place than I am, royal blue peacock promenading down Waco Street in Marfa, Texas. At Blackwell School, where only English could be spoken, the teachers buried Mr. Spanish. Every year they buried him alive. Behind crumbling walls of ruined adobe, above radiant orange zinnias, hummingbirds are aerial acrobats. Along the lonely two-lane highway, solitary Joshua trees appear at regular intervals, like posted mile markers. A pink snake racing across the desert hardly needs explanation, unless you believe it is only a trick of the mind. Here I imagine how I might perish by lightning strike or snake bite, drowned in a flash or scorched and shriveled in withering heat. Our guided tour ends with outdoor works of the celebrated artist, concrete boxes set in a landscape of Chinati beige. On one spiny paddle of the dusty cactus plant, a single yellow flower spreads its petals for a thirsty hummingbird. Caught a quick glimpse of bright eyes, yellow feathers, dark wings, never learned your name, and to you, bird, I also remain anonymous. So I'm just gonna read a few poems from Sleeping with the Dictionary. I think there's time for Q&A after the reading. I believe that was, okay. So those who care to ask a question or make a comment, be happy to have some kind of give and take. All right, so I'm gonna read Denigration. I visited some classes, and this is one of the poems that came up in our discussions. Denigration. Did we surprise our teachers who had niggling doubts about the picayune brains of small black children who reminded them of clean pickaninnies on a box of laundry soap? How muddy is the Mississippi compared to the third longest river of the darkest continent? In the land of the Igbo, the Hausa, and the Yoruba, what is the price per barrel of negrescence? Those slaves who were wealth survived on niggardly provisions. Should inheritors of wealth fault the poor enigma for lacking a dictionary? Does the mayor demand a recount of every bullet, or does City Hall simply neglect the black alderman's district? If I disagree with your beliefs, do you chalk it up to my negligible powers of discrimination, supposing I'm just trifling and not worth considering? Does my niggling concern with trivial matters negate my ability to negotiate in good faith? Though Maroons, who were unruly Africans, not loose horses or lazy sailors, were called renegades in Spanish, will I turn any blacker if I renege on this deal? And I thought I would read We Are Not Responsible also. We are not responsible for your lost or stolen relatives. We cannot guarantee your safety if you disobey our instructions. We do not endorse the causes or claims of people begging for handouts. We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone. Your ticket does not guarantee that we will honor your reservations. In order to facilitate our procedures, please limit your carrying on. Before taking off, please extinguish all smoldering resentments. If you cannot understand English, you will be moved out of the way. In the event of a loss, you better look out for yourself. Your insurance was canceled because we can no longer handle your frightful claims. Our handlers lost your luggage and we are unable to find the key to your legal case. You were detained for interrogation because you fit the profile. You are not presumed to be innocent if the police have reason to suspect you are carrying a concealed wallet. It's not our fault you were born wearing a gang color. It is not our obligation to inform you of your rights. Step aside, please, while our officer inspects your bad attitude. You have no rights that we are bound to respect. Please remain calm, or we can't be held responsible for what happens to you. Someone asked me about this poem, Bilingual Instructions, which was it's kind of a found poem because actually some of the words in the poem come from the trash and recycling bins that we have for waste disposal in LA. There are 3 bins. There's the blue one for the recyclables and the green one for the lawn trimmings and of course the black one for all the nasty, nasty garbage. Californians say no to bilingual instruction in schools. Californians say no to bilingual instructions on ballots. Californians say yes to bilingual instructions on curbside waste receptacles. Coloque el recipiente con las flechas hacia la calle. Place container with arrow facing street. No ruede el recipiente con la tapa abierta. Do not tilt or roll container with lid open. Recortes de jardín solamente. Yard clippings only. And let's see, I think maybe just 2 more. I will read the title poem, Sleeping with the Dictionary. That's the title of the book. Blop, blop, blop. I think those antihistamines I took are getting to my brain. Okay. Sleeping with the Dictionary. I beg to dicker with my silver-tongued companion, whose lips are ready to read my shining gloss. A versatile partner conversant and well-versed in the verbal art. The dictionary is not averse to the solitary habits of the curiously wide-awake reader. In the dark night's insomnia, the book is a stimulating sedative, awakening my tired imagination to the hypnagogic trance of language, retiring to the canopy of the bedroom, turning on the bedside light, taking the big dictionary to bed, clutching the unabridged bulk, heavy with the weight of all the meanings between these covers, smoothing the thin sheets, thick with accented syllables. All are exercises in the conscious regimen of dreamers who toss words on their tongues while turning illuminated pages. To go through all these motions and procedures, groping in the dark for an alluring word, is the poet's nocturnal mission. Aroused by myriad possibilities, we try out the most perverse positions in the practice of our nightly act, the penetration of the denotative body of the work. Any exit from the logic of language might be an entry in a symptomatic dictionary. The alphabetical order of this ample block of knowledge might render a dense lexicon of lucid hallucinations. Beside the bed, a pad lies open to record the meandering of migratory words. In the rapid eye movement of the poet's night vision, this dictum can be decoded like the secret acrostic of a lover's name. And then I think I will end with exploring the dark content, or exploring the dark content. I can dedicate this to all of the fellow poets and scholars who are gathered for these occasions. Exploring the dark content. This dream is not a map. A poem is not the territory. The dreamer reclines in a barber shop, carpeted with afro-turf. In the dark, some soul yells. It hurts to walk barefoot on cowrie shells. Thank you very much.